Hey everyone, we're back for our second UU at Home chat to talk more about what it means to be Unitarian Universalists at home together. So today we're going to talk about chalices and chalice lighting. So Amy, what is your connection to chalices and chalice symbols?
Yeah, so as I was thinking about this, I was remembering being in like middle school and high school, and almost always being one of the only Unitarian Universalists that went to my school. And even in my larger extended family, most of my extended family is Lutheran and Catholic. And so I think a lot about how I used to wear my chalice necklace and how much that would mean to me in those different spaces where I knew I was the only Unitarian Universalist, and I knew if somebody asked me about my faith, it was going to be a long conversation and hard conversation often. I think especially when my family moved to Michigan, that was most people hadn't ever heard of Unitarian Universalism, and if you didn't go to one of two churches in that small town, it was unheard of. And so I know that this was true for both myself and for a lot of Unitarian Universalist youth who found themselves as one of the only Unitarian Universalists. We would often talk about how we would doodle chalices in the margins of our notebooks while we were taking notes in class. Or we would, I remember a friend of mine who also went to a Catholic church talked about proudly wearing her chalice necklace in the halls of school. And I think about why it is that we did that, why it is that we drew the chalices in the margins of our notebooks or felt so proud of our chalice necklaces. And I think it was just a connection to community. It was our identity, something to remind us of who we are, the people who love us and hold us, the things that we value. Yeah, and to this day, I still have this, and I've shared it with our younger kids, I think even with our youth. I have this giant rock that sits on my home altar that's got a chalice painted on it, and that's moved with me wherever I have gone. My college dorm room, my apartments, and now my home altar. So that chalice symbol, I think, is more than something that we engage with at church. It's something that we carry with us, whether or not we have, a physical chalice to light. That symbol still means something. It holds something.
Yeah, I think one of the ways we talk about chalices with kids too is that we're sort of setting the tone for what's coming next, and we're setting the space intentionally, and so treating the chalice as kind of a threshold, a beginning point to something else. And it's really lovely that we've been able to take that with us wherever we go, right? And across state lines and over the years, and now from our church home, the physical building, and into our own special places at home. That's been really wonderful. And then I think about the times that I like lighting the chalice at home, and often it's along those same lines of when I need a special time and special space for a little while. And so sometimes that's if I'm feeling sad about something, or a little while ago, actually, the power went out and I don't have physical candles, but I have just a ton of LED candles from the various church things that I've done with chalices. And so I just surrounded myself with tiny chalices while the power was out. And it was not only, providing light so I could see things, but it was also, again, just that symbol of safety, and reminding me that it's dark and there's loud thunder happening outside right now, but here's a physical, tangible reminder of again that community that holds me, and that just it's a bit on the nose, but it felt very right, and that was just a time that I lit my chalice that really I'll kind of keep with me.
Yeah, and I mean, often in our house, like, I mean, and we talk about this with families all the time and with kids, like, when do you light your chalice at home? And I think the obvious time that we talk about is right before a mealtime, right? I think a lot of people have it as part of their own personal rhythm, that there is that moment before we share a meal, before we break bread together, that maybe we were raised saying a prayer together or naming that space in some way as sacred. and so that seems to be a natural time that you might light a chalice for gratitude, or for the people you're with, or whatever. But I think it's true. I light a chalice at home kind of when I feel called to light a chalice, or when I feel like I need that warmth of community around me, even if I'm all by myself. And I think my kids have gotten used to that too, because sometimes I will say to them, I'll call them together if something big has happened or something, and say, we're going to light this chalice together because of whatever. And sometimes I just kind of silently by myself light a chalice. And my kids have sort of known that if they see the chalice lit, that they can ask me, well, what's going on? And sometimes I can say, I have this really hard thing I'm working through, and I just needed this beacon here in this moment, to hold us together, or whatever it is. And sometimes it's a family member that's sick, or just a problem I'm working through, or something really glad that's happened too. Yeah, it's been fun to kind of, because we've been doing that with the kids in children's chapel and in youth group too, just talking about creating our own rituals with the chalice symbol, and they've come up with some pretty creative stuff, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you can make really whatever you need from the chalice lighting ritual. And so the kids will come up with their own words sometimes, or they'll go through books and find words that match what they need at the time. And that's similarly when I'm lighting my chalice at home. I don't always feel the need to go looking for a long, deep poem that I can light the chalice for. Sometimes it's just, I just need it for myself, and I hold that sort of internally. And having something physical to hold on to. A lot of times what we're struggling with, especially right now, feels really huge, and in lots of ways not tangible. But the chalice provides something physical to really note, I'm taking this time to breathe and to acknowledge that there's something happening right now, and I need to sit with it, with this chalice right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it calls us back to our values too. I think that's in sort of that discernment of what is it that I value in this moment? What does my community remind me that I ought to hold high in this moment? I think it speaks to also our sort of our congregation's tradition of chalice lighting in our worship service too, right? We often invite members of the congregation and children and youth to light the chalice and to write their own words, have it echo what it is that they're holding in their hearts, often in relationship to a theme. But sometimes it is just what they're holding in their hearts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then by sharing it and by saying, I light this chalice for, it's that invitation, right, to share that and to hold it together as a community. And now that the chalice has been lit for that thing that's being held in your heart, now everyone else is holding it in their heart too.
Yeah, it's about intention naming, which I think is so much about like everything we do with ritual, right? It's about setting that intention. And we did in the booklet that we included in the starter kits that were sent home. It kind of speaks to that tradition, including some sentence starters. And I think chalice lighting words don't have to be anything complicated or eloquent. And I know that as we've in my own house taken turns lighting the chalice around meal times or any special time that we feel like we need to light the chalice, it can be, I light the chalice for my grandma, who I'm holding in my heart, or I light the chalice for getting to spend time with you all, because this is really cool and special. So it doesn't have to be complicated, but like, as you said, just a drawing of attention to what it is that we hope that we're holding together.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, it's a really nice way for us to start RE classes in particular, to have that constant thing to go back to. Did you have anything to add on chalices?
No, I don't think so. Just that in our booklet we did include some sample words, because I know sometimes you might feel at a loss for words you know, and sometimes it's okay to light a chalice silently as you're kind of figuring out what it is that you're holding. I think that's okay too, obviously. But also sometimes it's just so comforting to have somebody else's words that just speak to you, to just grab them and say, yes, this feels comforting and comfortable and reminds me of my community and holds me.
Yeah. On that note, I'd like to share the chalice setting words that we often use in RE classes. And if you're watching this, you're welcome to light your chalice along with it. So the words we use are, we light this chalice to remind us all to be loving and kind, to listen and learn, to grow and serve. This light reminds us that together we are strong. All right. We would love to see pictures of your chalices at home, and if you have a blessing or a chalice lighting to share, you can comment below or send those our way. We would love to hold those blessings with you.